I had a few things to say about mod. So, I'm obviously not going to get to everything I have to say about it right here, but my point being that mod is a very interesting show. So, Mod herself is an interesting character, and so by the way, this show went on from 1972 to 1978. It was 6 seasons long. So shorter than shows that we see nowadays, or even a little bit later, like the Golden Girls. And speaking of the Golden Girls, two of the main actresses from the Golden Girls were two of the main characters in Maud. So the character of Maud was played by B. Arthur, who also plays Dorothy's Bornak in the Golden Girls. So yeah, that's Maud Findlay. And Vivian, the character of Vivian, Cavender. Of course, she later becomes Vivian Harmon. But yeah, Vivian Harmon is played by Rue McClanahan, who, of course, later went on to play Blanche Devereaux in The Golden Girls. So that's interesting because basically, Rue and B worked together then 6 years and then many years later for 7 years and probably on other things together. And obviously, B also worked with Betty White at one point. I think that was the Mary Tyler Moore show in the 1970s. I don't really remember to be exact. But anyway, that's my first observation. And my second observation is some plot errors. So, for instance, Walter once mentions that he and Maud went to Maud's mother for the holidays or something, and they were visiting there for some reason at her house. But then in an episode that takes place much later, it's revealed that Maud, Maud's mother and Walter have never met before. So obviously they messed that up in terms of the plot. And in the first season, Arthur has grandchildren, and Philip knows that because he's playing with them. But then in a much later season, in like season 6 or 5 or something, um, Arthur's grandson comes over, and Philip, they all act like Arthur has never had grandchildren, which isn't true because he did in the earlier seasons, so that's obviously something they also messed up. And also, Maud mentions that Carol's father was her second husband. Maud's second husband, I mean, of course. But then later, they keep saying that Maud's first husband was Carol's father, so obviously, if they were going to do that later, then maybe they should have done it correctly the first time and not switched it around too much. So many plot errors, but other things that I wanted to touch on. Some of the episodes were just plain bizarre, and I think some of them just went a little too far. And I actually don't remember the specifics of each one of the ones that went too far, but they were interesting. I'll just say they were very bizarre and weird, and I'm not sure I would watch those episodes again. But in other instances, they actually covered some rather unique topics for that time period. So they would talk about what's it called? The issue of abortion and coping with other things. And they do talk about how to help people in ways that weren't really described or they didn't like to go into back then. So they touched on some issues that are relevant now and are considered important issues now, but for the time period, it's actually very surprising that they would cover those things. So that was unique. And and of course the political references with Arthur uh, being a Republican and Maud being on the liberal side of things. And of course, they mention President Carter a lot of times, and of course, he actually calls Maud at the in season 6, and um, President Ford is mentioned a few times, and they make fun of his cabinet. And President Nixon, disgraced President Nixon, who ended up resigning later, is also mentioned, and Arthur defends President Nixon because Arthur likes President Nixon, and so on and so forth. Now, let me say that I think Rue McClanahan did a great job. Her role as Blanche Devereaux on The Golden Girls was impressive, and I think her role on Maud as Vivian Harmon is also very funny. Sometimes a little very different, a little too different from the character of Blanche, but obviously I got used to it because it is what it is, and she does a great job with it. And obviously, the Golden Girls came out much later after Maud, so there's that too. Oh yeah, so they do make a few jokes about and with the uh, housemaid that Maud had in the first few episodes or the first 2 seasons. I actually don't remember what her name was. And actually, I'm pretty sure they also had a housekeeper in the last few seasons as well, but I don't remember because I think the housekeeper disappeared after a while. I actually don't remember a lot of things about Maud, but an important thing to mention is that I really disliked. There were very few characters that I disliked, but I really disliked the character of Mrs. Naugatuck. I think the character was very unnecessary and was very obnoxious in terms of the plot and really added nothing. And I was actually kind of glad when they wrote the character out and had the character move to England or something or somewhere. And then, of course, the character of Carol was fascinating, and Walter did a great job as well. And I think Walter's actor is still alive. I'm pretty sure, and of course, Carol's actress is still alive as well. But I think Walter's actor is still living. I would have to check on that again, but not sure. But yeah, so overall, Maud is quite the show. And as for the character of Philip, I like the younger actor and the older actor as well. They did a good job. There were two different actors for Philip because they recasted him. Cover a lot of. I do think it's something to watch at least once. It's pretty good overall, but it does get slow at times, and some episodes were unnecessary and just totally bizarre.